Outfought, outplayed. There was more passion, more desire from Fulham. Fulham 3, Tottenham Hotspur 0. Welcome to PRTV Spurs Paxton Road TV Reaction Show. Good afternoon on this miserable Sunday afternoon. After yesterday's result, Fulham 3, Tottenham Hotspur 0 at Craven Cottage. Who expected that result? And more importantly, who expected that performance from Tottenham Hotspur Football Club? Joining me to go through the analysis, talking points, whatever we want to talk about the defeat yesterday is, as always, Sam Spurs for Life and Mr. Tottenham Tifosi, Sean Hurl. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm not going to ask you how you are, but how are you feeling?
A week in the life of a Tottenham Hotspur fan. From up here to down there. And what we need to tell ourselves, as we've been telling ourselves these last few weeks, is don't get too high, don't get too low. And that's hopefully what we'll bring today.
And yourself, Sam?
Yeah, just disappointment. Probably more so on the angry side of the emotions yesterday, but disappointment when you're reflecting today. As I said, I think there's opportunities that have been lost, really.
Yeah, I think we'll go into the game more. I think in terms of passion, desire, absolutely nothing, like I said at the beginning. But going back to the preview show, I know we said they've not beaten us for about how many years, how many games at Craven Cottage. We've always had the upper hand. Yes, it's not been convincing, but we've had 2-1s, 1-0s and stuff like that. Everybody, including yourselves, me, everybody in the comment section was confident in terms of we're going to go there and we're going to beat them. Especially after the way we absolutely dismantled Aston Villa in the second half. Looking at that game yesterday then, guys, before we actually analyse it, if you was a neutral watching that game and if you was watched Aston Villa last week, you'd be thinking, I know, Sean, you've said it, it's in a week in a day in the life of a Spurs fan, but as a neutral, when you're watching that, last week's performance, this week's performance, how would you analyse it? How would you analyse that? Because it's like 1 week you're like grade A, and then 7 days later you're an E or an F. Sam, well, analyse that for me.
To be honest with you, the biggest thing in any football, any level, you can have bad days at the office. You know, obviously from last week, you're thinking you've won 4-0 away against your main rivals for that top 4 place. You're thinking that confidence should then transcend straight into this game and we'll be going in there flying, blah, blah, blah. But you can always play not at your best in any game of football. But what you do expect is in this situation when you are chasing something, not necessarily wanting to win a title, but chasing something, top 4 being that, you always want to see fight. What I've now analysed in our team, we don't have enough fight, like real fight. I'm not talking about coming back from being 2-0 down at half time and scoring some goals because players have, up their game. I'm talking about physical fight and passion. And that's what we lacked yesterday, in my opinion. That was the biggest thing that was the takeaway for me.
Sean?
Yeah, I mean, it was, as you say, it was chalk and cheese. Last week, we looked like a team that could go into the top 4. This week, if you're looking at the three performances, including Villa, Fulham look like the team that should be in the top 4, and yet they're 12th, and they remain 12th, and that's probably where they'll finish. and it's okay raising your game against the teams at the top of the table, as we have done and as we'll probably continue to do. But it's games like yesterday that you know, the bread and butter points that you need to win, and that separates the real competitors against the, you know, the also-rans. And that currently we are an also-ran. We are an also-ran. We're a few months into a new project, and we will have performances like that whilst we overhaul a squad which was in desperate need of overhauling, which was, you know, we've started that process, but you know, we're not the finished product by a long way.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you have said, but in terms of my comparison to last week, the only difference was Dragusin coming in for Van der Ven, which was a obviously forced change, and the other 10 players played in that game last week, and their performances from last week to this week was just like, I won't even say a 5-10% difference. There was a massive difference in performance, you know. And how can you go to Villa Park one week, play that way, and then you're going to Craven Cottage against the Fulham side, who have done really well, but we've got a great record against them, and just from the offset. And I mean, I don't know how you saw it, but from the moment we kicked off, it just did not look like they were on it. Was that overconfidence? Did they just think like people have, you know, even on that channel which the game was on live, they were saying Spurs thought they could just turn up and win the game. Was it that case then? Did they just think that we could turn up and win the game?
No, there's a few factors. It's not going to be one thing. I do not believe you can just put it down to one thing. I've said about the aggression thing, that's probably the biggest thing that I took away. But there was lots of things in yesterday's game. That's the reason why we didn't win. You know, the tactics from Marco Silva was spot on. Where is the space on the pitch when Tottenham have the ball? The space is always in that fullback area because our fullbacks play in the field. So our centre backs are either going to be split wide or you're going to have to chase back, blah, blah, blah. So all they did was play into them channels quite a lot. If you look inside, when they had them chances in the first half, a lot of that play was either in that inside right, where your defender would normally be if he's your fullback, but if he hasn't tracked back, he's not going to be there. So that inside right channel and inside left channel was always there. They scored their goal from a pass directly into the space where the fullback was never going to be. The fullback then was having to chase back. Our forward player isn't doing enough to get back as well. So it was a combination of, yeah, we beat Villa last week. We should just roll up and beat this lot. They've not beat Arsenal at home. They haven't had bad results. Every time they've scored first, they've now won 12. Sorry, in 12 games, they've won 10, drawn 2, not lost. Those sort of things you've got to look at. You've got to look at these things, and you can't go into these games thinking you're just going to roll teams over. So complacency added to all those things. It's disappointing that the fight wasn't there for me. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah, Sean, anything to add to that? You're on mute, Sean.
Yeah, it's probably for the best that I'm on mute. You can't explain it really in that 1 week we can do everything right, and this week, I mean, as you said, from minute 1, I think there was a period sort of 10 minutes before they scored their first goal where we looked like we were at the team, and Son had that shot over the bar and Maddison put the ball wide. But other than that, we just never really worked their goalkeeper. We were just, they would, as Sam has alluded to, when you're conceding so much space down the width, look, I mean, I'm not going to put it on Dragusin. I thought he was probably one player who actually did his very best in a difficult situation. But when your captain, I mean, is so off form that he deserved to be hooked at half time, then where's the leadership? There was no leadership on the field. I thought Basuma had a stinker, and our formation depends on the number 6 role being absolutely spot on, because they have a defensive role to play. And I'm sorry, Eve, you just didn't do it yesterday. You just didn't do it.
Individual players in the team, Sean, we will go into that when we actually do the team, because there's a lot I want to talk about in terms of the team, and I'm sure you guys do as well. So we'll do that as we get to that team. Right, so let's break it down then. If you're watching us, whichever social media you're watching us on, whether you're watching us on X, YouTube, wherever you're watching us, if you've already not subscribed to PRTV Spurs Paxton Road TV, make sure you get over there and give us a smash. Like us, follow us, because we bring you all the content as and when it happens.
I don't want to smash personally, though, people. I don't want to smash personally.
Right. I don't want to get smashed as well, and I'm sure Spurs don't want as well, like they did yesterday. So, if I bring it up on the screen, here we go. I put it in black, yeah, because we're in mourning, aren't we? So, not that it's Fulham colours, but anyway. Right. So, the first half then, 58% possession to their 42. Did you think we had 58%? Because when I looked at this yesterday, and I'm like, really? We had 58% possession, but what exactly did we do apart from side to the back? Because I don't think the keeper made a save, to be fair, at all in that first half. So where was the 58% possession, guys?
Probably was. You know what? When we do have possession, this control, it's always in the back half. I remember in that first 10, 15 minutes, there was a lot of side-to-side passing between Romero and Dragusin, back to the keeper, and Romero into and back. There was a lot of that. So that's where that percentage probably goes up. But what the difference between last week and this week from the two opponents was that Fulham mixed their game up a lot more. They mixed it up with a bit of pressing. Firstly, I thought they were going to drop off. That's why we got that initial possession. But they were also very aggressive sometimes when the ball came to certain areas, whereas Aston Villa last week, I don't think were as aggressive. Hence the reason why we had 70% to their 30%. But this week was different team.
Oh, interesting. Sean?
Yeah, I mean, much like last week, we had lots of possession, but it's, you know, where was that possession? It was probably at the back and in the midfield. We weren't, you know, there was no possession in their half of the field, and much as there's this big thing about possession and control, you know, unless you're turning that into chances, which we quite clearly didn't in the first half in particular. We you know, as I say, the most important stat is the scoreline, and you can't get away from it. That was a drubbing yesterday, a drubbing.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Right, so they had 7 shots. We had 5. 1 off target for them. We had 3 off target, and I think that was Son and Madison, and I don't know who the other one was. 3 on target. We had 1. I can't remember I can't remember that one. Shots inside the box. They had 6. We had 5 shots outside the box. 1 to our 0. 199 passes Fulham had, which was a 77% accuracy. We had 292, of which was 84%. And touches in the opposite box, 21 to Spurs' 17. Now, these touches in the box, 17 to their 21, yeah? Our 17 touches in the opposite box. I didn't fear of us scoring any goals at all. In fact, them 17 touches probably non-existent. However, I'm assuming them 21 touches Fulham had, I was always like, oh shit, because they found that space, like you said at the beginning, Sean, where our wing backs are supposed to be the players that come in. Every time they found that space down the wings, and Silva done his homework, obviously, but I don't know about you guys, but every time they attacked us and they came into our box, I thought they were going to score because they had chances, and some good chances in that first half. Sam?
Right, so one of the things about us as a team in terms of how we play, which is going to be a pro and a con for it. Ange Postecoglou said, and I think his press conference, pre-match press conference, is that his ultimate goal is teams to play in a certain way all the time, and that teams have to work us out, you know, because we're the better team. That's his ultimate goal. The problem with that is you also need those players to be able to be consistent in what they do each and every week, or to bring in players to keep that rotation going so you can keep that level high. I've seen Basuma now for the last few weeks has been awful, in my opinion. And so things break down. Not just him. I'm not going to just sit back. I'm just using that as an example. So what you've got is a situation where if teams know how to get at us, and teams have got the blueprint from many teams we've played this season, we've not gone into any game where nobody's, you know, had like one shot on goal. We've had multiple shots. So you know where the space is. That's where the problem is. If you're not on your game, and we weren't on our game yesterday, we are quite susceptible to transition football if you play quickly. What we don't do is we seem to labour. That's why our percent, we were trying to control, but we're not controlling the game territorially. If you look at the territory where we had the ball, the territory was in our third in terms of the back third. That's territory for where Fulham won it, because if they win the ball back there, they got opportunities on the goal. So I just think we are relying on a system that we need to be almost perfect each and every time, and make sure we take our chances, both of which we didn't do yesterday.
What did you think of the stats on the first half, Sean? Are you on mute?
They surprised me. I didn't think that we'd had 5 shots, for example. I can remember 2 at the most.
Yeah.
And I've already indicated.
Remember the Madison one? Yeah, the Madison one. What else?
The Madison one and the Son one which are over the bar.
That's the only 2 I remember as well.
That's the only 2 I remember. So it's obviously I was obviously distracted in the pub, but I wasn't distracted by what was going on in the screen, because you could see that where this was leading to. As I say, there was a little golden period prior to their first goal where we seemed to, not only have possession, but we were threatening. But after that, as soon as Fulham scored, I thought, it was one of those weeks where too many players had an off game. You might carry 1 or 2 players, but we're going to get into the players, but
yeah.
The too many of the players underperformed, and when there was no changes at half time, that was the alarm bells, but no changes were made at half time, and that's when I thought that's a mistake, and it was compounded because we then conceded early in the second half. So.
Yeah, it's like Jason Donovan said, isn't it? There was too many broken hearts in this team, and there was too many broken passes that we cannot deal with.
Yeah. Can we just touch on that half-time thing? Because as I said, I think there's a trend in that. I think there's only been a few games, and I can't remember them, when we've had changes at half-time, where, unless there's been forced changes, but I think there's a problem with the substitutions. We didn't make any substitutions till we were 3-0 down.
Yeah.
It wasn't even immediately afterwards. They scored their 3rd goal in the 61st minute. We made our 3 substitution in the 66th minute.
Yeah.
That tells me a lot.
I think you've frozen, Sam. Oh, I think you're frozen, Sam. Let it go. Come on. Oh. Sam? You're blinking away. You're doing a blinking 182, but you're back. You're back. Yeah. No, do you know what? We'll discuss that about the substitutions, because we've said this many times about these substitutions, and for whatever reason, and I think I totally agree with what Sam said. At 3-0 down, why are you making substitutions? Them substitutions should have been made at 2-0, not 3-0. So
I would actually argue they should have been done at half time, because it was clear we were not making an impression, and we needed a change. And so many of our players that last week had played out of their skin were poor, very poor. And once you're down 3-0, or even once you're down 2-0, you're chasing the game, but 3-0, the game's over. And what was that about then? Was it just about preserving legs?
And the thing is as well, Sam, is, and we'll talk about this, I think the 3 substitutions that he made as well, straight away, I wouldn't have made them 3, but we'll discuss that, and we'll talk about that as soon as we do the team in a second. Right. So then I said to you guys, didn't I, on the group, that don't worry, lads, we're kicking at the south stand second half. We're gonna come back. But no. 45% possession. We had 55% possession. They had 9 shots in the second half. We had 9 shots. So they had 2 off target. We had 5 off target. So technically, we had 4 on target. They had 4, which they scored 3. Shots inside the box, 9. We had 7. Shots outside the box, 0. We had 2. 191 passes, 76%. 240 to our 84% possession. Touches in the opposite box, 19. We had 22 in the second half. So why do we need to have a second half to wake up? Because this is not a one game thing. It seems to be almost week in, week out now. We're a second half team. Sean, I know I've asked you this question before, and you've said, yeah, that's why you get the second half 15-minute break. But surely we need to come out of the bloody fences from the offset, no?
Well, I mean, I would argue that those stats don't actually say that we were a second half team. Oh, yes, we've had more shots,
Yeah,
but we've actually had less possession. We've, I mean, most of those shots probably came after the substitutions were made.
Yeah.
If you think about it, I can remember Charlton having shots. I can remember Vernon missing, adding to his show reels of, missed opportunities.
Don't start Sam off, please.
But it was, again, stats. They're the curse of modern football. I'm showing my age here, but it's about how players perform. And we didn't from right corner, to right back to, left wing. Not one of our players emerged with any credit. In fact, the only player who probably emerges with any credit is actually Højbjerg, who I thought was at least busy and contrived to get us up the field quicker. But that was a shocker of a game, and put it to bed. And the trouble is we've now got 2 weeks off, and suddenly with other results everywhere, our matches are being squeezed together. We can't play Manchester City until the middle of the last week of the season.
Yeah.
God knows when we're going to play Chelsea. It's we're going to finish up with 2 games a week going into the final month of the season, and if we can't cope with 7 days off like we had yesterday, God knows what's going to happen towards the end. But as I say, our advance on this season is finishing above 8th, which was last year, under the shit show that was Stellini, Conte and co. And we need to get into Europe of some sort. But I think yesterday, more. I mean, I've been saying it for a while. We're not ready for the Champions League, and I'll tell you what, it'd be very chastening to go into that Champions League with this squad.
The only sorry, is there any delay on this from you talking? Because you guys have got a little bit of a delay. So
no, you're fine now.
Cool, that's fine then. I agree with a lot of what you said there, Sean. If we can't cope with 1 game a week now, how the hell are we going to cope with 2? And that's my theory for next season. If you're in the Champions League, that's a league where you want to be performing. You don't just want to be in there just to be in the group stages. Nobody really wants to do that. So what's the point? And I've always maintained that. What's the point of being in the Champions League? Just to give. I know it's the revenue side of things. I understand that. I know players want to play at the highest level, but ultimately we're not going to do as well as we would anticipate. So yeah, Europa is probably where we should finish. Maybe 5th is a good position for us to finish in, and not have Champions League if it doesn't go to the 5th place. But yeah, yesterday's performance for me, it just comes back down to the same thing. That's not a second half performance. That's terrible. That's terrible second half performance. They scored 3 goals and they scored 1 in the first half. They scored 2. They scored 4. They really did score the 4th goal as well. And I was thinking, we haven't even made a sub yet. Yeah. And they scored 4 goals. This is unbelievable. And they obviously got chalked off, but that can't happen. It can't happen. We've got players. The first 10 games is what's put us into this position of almost like a bit of euphoric state, because we're thinking, oh, when we get all our players back, look what we did in the first 10 games. Football don't work like that. We've been found out to a degree. We have been found out. And I'm not going to say that lightly. The problem is, the antidote to being found out is sometimes you just got to play a little bit differently. Maybe you have to add a little bit of, maybe make the substitutions earlier. And I talked about it yesterday. I said that the team selection, Johnson is okay on the left, but he's better on the right. You can't think he's going to be consistent playing on that left-hand side. And this is what we're trying to do. He played well last week. He's going to play well this week. It don't work like that for him because he's not got that experience at Spurs yet. There's little things like that, man. Little things.
Yeah. I see them lot down the road from Woolwich are having a little bit of fun.
Of course they would.
That's not a problem. Listen, guys.
I can't even see the comments today. So
yeah, for each drop that you like, each like increases the hope of a 5th place finish for us. That's not a problem, because for each one that you do that, it will give you more hope that you lot are going to try and win the Champions League and the Premier League. Yeah. So let's continue with that, because I'm sure we'll come on to help put loads the likes on your ones as well when you start to falter. Yeah, because you can keep that top place nice and warm for Man City and Liverpool. Let's keep it warm for Liverpool and.
Don't worry, if whoever that is in that if it's Tony or if it's Raheem, if Gumza, if it's any, I'm gonna find out. You wait.
It's fine, guys. It's fine, guys. Because Arsenal are going to be responsible for the 5th place not being in the Champions League, because they're going to lose to a German club.
Let's leave them out.
Just like West Ham are going to lose to a German club.
They'll get me.
So that's fine.
Good. It's good that they've joined us on a Sunday afternoon, because obviously they've got nothing better to do with their lives. So they thought, let's come and home. Let's go and do some shithousery on the PRTVSPURS TV.
All fun.
Lovely, lads. Lovely. We love it.
And the team that competing is not playing this weekend because they were knocked out of the FA Cup.
Look at
love, though. It's all love, man. No problem.
Yeah,
all love.
We do, man.
Your girlfriends and your wives or your kids out on a Sunday afternoon. Right. So second half. Overall then, Sam, this is how it was. 43% to Fulham, 57% to Spurs. They had 16 shots. We had 14. 3 off target. Spurs had 8 off target. Might as well have been all 14. 7 on target to their 5. Shots inside the box, 15. We had 12. Shots outside the box, 1 to 2. Passes, 396, 76%. Spurs had 532, 84%. And touches in the opposite box, 40 to Fulham. 40. We had 39. So 39 in the opposite box, and we didn't score 1 goal. Yeah. 12 shots inside the box. Did the keeper make one? I think he made 1 save in that second half, didn't he? But that was just like a bread and butter save. It wasn't even something top draw.
It was a shot from Lo Celso.
Yeah, that one. I'm not even going to go there with that.
No, actually, there was one. There was also a save from Richarlison later on as well.
Yeah. So overall, then, is that good for an away team performance?
Are you asking me?
I ask you if you want to go first.
I'm going to give you my honest. No, you lost 3-0. I don't care if we had 99% possession, 99,000 shots. We lost 3-0. Nothing of that matters. You can look into it in more depth. You can say, yeah, we had them touches in the box. Were they more clinical? Were Fulham good defensively? Did they put blocks in? But I don't remember too much of that. I don't remember them putting their bodies on the line that much. Yeah, they made some blocks. We made some blocks. But what I do remember is they were slicing us open at one point. Slicing us open. And then we got a little bit You know, remember Vicario started to get a little bit jittery, kicked one out, just sliced it. Basuma was giving the ball away for fun. We're just doing stuff like that, which again is the mentality quite there. Do we have enough leaders in that? I know we've got this trio of leadership, but I don't remember seeing any of them three yesterday. Really, I don't remember seeing any of them three say, right, I'm taking this game by the scruff. You'd expect Son to do that. You'd expect Maddison to do that in those attacking areas. And I know that Romero's got a bit more of a calmer approach, but he didn't show me enough aggression yesterday as well. Fuck it, we're losing 3-0. Can do something about it, man.
Yeah, I agree. Sean, do you want to add to this before we move on to the team?
The nerds have killed football for me. I'm nearly 63 years old, and I hate the statistics. In fact, I will probably not contribute to any other streams which have bloody statistics on the way it's carrying at the minute. But anyway, yeah, the only point is, bad day at the office. We lost. Move on. Move on.
Right, so last week, obviously beat Villa 3-0 at Villa Park, and then you would probably think that he will go with the...
Just one before you keep going. The next game after the international break is Luton at home.
Correct.
That's all I'm saying.
Right, so after last week, then you would think, obviously, the same team, hopefully same performance. Dragusin was the forced change due to Van der Ven's injury. This is the lineup that he put out. Who wants to go first then? Because I've got a lot to say about this, but Sean, go on.
I'm just going to go through the team quickly. Sorry. Vicario, there's nobody that got above a 6 in there. Vicario, I think he was okay. You know, not really at fault for the goals in any way. He got a little bit jittery, but that's because the pressure was on the whole team, and so you know it flows through. Porro again wasn't at the races in terms of the attacking sense. Was cut off a lot by the players. Was isolated a lot to Robinson. Robinson's a very good player on that left hand side. I thought he was isolated far too much. He didn't do enough to get back and track back and help. Hence the reason I think Johnson should have been on that side. Dragusin first game. I'm not going to knock him. I think aerially was good. Udogie, again, not his best game, but again, I think he was probably better of those two fullbacks yesterday. Basuma, awful. Sarr, not his best game. Maddison didn't show me enough. Kulishevsky could have come off at any point in that game. Son could have come off at any point in that game. Johnson, again, he's hit or miss. He's up and down. He's not going to be consistent. So, therefore, when you've got that in your team, that's what you're going to get. There you go.
Fine. Sean, before go on, and then I'll
Ditto. I mean, you know, what can you say? I mean, the whole of them. You know, I mean, to be fair, I mean, Maddison was kicked left, right, and centre, and Paulina and Lucas just took their time, and it was a very Manchester City style performance. You know, serial fouls. I mean, kicking him left, right, and centre. They knew where the threat came for, so they dealt with our threat. Sarr was playing like he was playing like a sort of nervous pony. I thought he was not good at all. And Basuma, I mean, this is the problem. It's a high risk, high reward style of football, and if you're giving the ball away for free, it is going to allow people to exploit the spaces that our fullbacks give away. And we were giving the ball away in very dangerous situations. And as soon as our passing game's off, you know, we're in trouble. And you know, this is why why Ange didn't change things much earlier. As I say, at half-time. Half-time was the ideal opportunity because you'd had a whole half and you could see things were not working out, and you had other people available. But by the time we made the substitutions, the game was gone. Yeah, and it's just I think Ange takes most of the responsibility for not using his subs.
100%. I was just going to say one quick thing, Sid, before you move on. That comment about, I think it said something like, don't blame the manager, blame the players. Of course, the manager has to take responsibility in this. We've just talked about the substitution. He could have even if he didn't make the substitution at half-time, which he didn't, you could have, the obvious thing for me was swap Johnson and Kulishevsky. Do that at minimum. The other thing you could have done at minimum is, if you are going to make one change, if you didn't want to make 3 changes, I understand that. Basuma could have come off, because I could see that we just needed a little bit more. He gave the ball away too many times. And I want to see a chart with unforced errors in your stats next time, Sid, because I think we're fucking high on the list of unforced errors here.
Do you know what? And the other thing as well, right? The fundamentals of footballs, right? It's all in the textbook, isn't it? And one of the things is passing a football. Yeah, a simple pass to one of your players. That first half performance yesterday, the first 10 minutes, they couldn't even. I don't know what was going on with the passing. They couldn't find the players. Then they were passing it short to the players. I think they were trying to do a Firmino or whoever, a no-look pass straight to Fulham players. It was like shocking. And I'm like, what is going on here? Are these guys just thinking that, you know, they're taking Fulham, they're not taking Fulham as a football club, and they think they can just turn up and this kind of nonsense is going to work? For me, Basuma, week in, week out, I think is getting poor. And yesterday, for me, Paulinho just proved the difference between having that player, that Sean, what you're saying, yeah, the difference in them two players, it was like, bloody hell, massive. The gulf between Basuma and Paulinho.
He showed, Paulinho showed yesterday why Bayern Munich wanted him in the summer, or in January, and you know he would improve any team. He would improve any team because
100%.
he's competitive. You need someone at that position at 6 to be, to be combative. Them lot down the road have got it in Rice. Very good acquisition. But we've not, ever since Luton, Basuma has not been the same player. And, that's a mental issue because, he needs to put that behind him, But he then subsequently got sent off against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's it. I think, I'm really sorry to say that. I don't think Basuma's it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm going to agree to that now. And maybe in hindsight, this is probably why he hadn't gone to. Now, I know that Arsenal were linked to him before, and I know there's been a couple of teams in the couple of years before that were linked to Basuma, but maybe that's the reason why nobody really took that chance on him. And we have taken that chance on him. And I think he's still a good, very, very good player in there. But I don't know if he's going to be a consistent player. That's what you need in that position. You need it. If you're going to, and I'm going to help the Gooners out, if you're going to have a Patrick Vieira in there, if you're going to have someone like a Roy Keane in there, you want consistency.
Emmanuel Petit as well.
So if you're not playing well, and this goes back to yesterday, we didn't play well, but you have to find a way. You have to find other stuff. And it's not just about your talent, it's about your desire. What's your desire? Are you going to let these Paulinhos, because all they did was press. It weren't like I was seeing them, pulling Barcelona's out on us, they did look like they passed around us a little bit, but that's because our effort levels were poor. Their effort levels were higher. All you need to have if you're not playing well is effort and desire. Put your foot in. We've seen that these players can do it if they're really, really pushed. But I don't think we're going to have that consistent basis from this lot until we get somebody in there that can do it.
Yeah. Do you think then that Basuma's free from desire? Na 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 na. Sorry. Anyway, there is a player in him, like you said, Sam. But I think you can have one bad game, you can have 2 bad games, but there seems to be more and more bad games as each game goes by, and that's the thing.
Yes, we win. It's not even so much bad games, because as I said, everybody can have a bad game. It's almost like the nonchalance with which he gives the ball away. It's like I saw yesterday again, like with the Villa one. We were in control of the Villa one, and it's kind of almost like an outside the foot pass to somebody. It doesn't get to them, and we're under pressure. But it's in our fucking third. You're not doing that in the final third. If you're doing that in the final third, I understand that. You try a little fancy stuff. But why are you trying a little flick kind of pass in our half, and then you lose the ball? And you've done that many, many times this season already. Surely someone's got to get hold of him and say, listen, just pass the ball simply. You've got all the talent in the world. Just be simple at times, particularly in dangerous areas if you haven't got the know-how to just play in that area properly.
This is it. The back 5 for me is not a problem, right? I think Basuma. I think Maddison is struggling. I think Maddison is struggling, and I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, people in the comment section, but I think Maddison is really struggling. He's not taking this game by the scruff of the neck. Yes, there's games, you know, all right, you can say that he's getting kicked off the pitch, this, that, the other, but for me, he's not influencing the game at all. Last couple of games, he's just not done it. Now, whether it's that because of his coming back from injury, but it's not the Maddison at the beginning of the season, and I'm starting to worry a little bit in terms of our playmaking now, because I don't know what's going on with Maddison. I don't know if you guys agree or not, but I just think there's something just not right with Maddison at this moment, and we're struggling. We're struggling, and if he doesn't come up to scratch in the next, obviously next against Luton and the week after, I'm even saying that you know what, give Lo Celso a go, put Kulu in that middle. And the reason I say put Kulu in that middle is because I think on the right, Kulu doesn't give anything to Spurs. And I'll touch on him a little bit more in a bit. But what are you guys making of Maddison at the moment?
Well, I have to push back on that a little bit, because there's no doubt about it. He is our threat, and you know, he is assaulting week in and week out. The number of, you know, there was some really rough challenges yesterday, and it was. I mean, at one point, you know, they cropped him, and you can see he was having trouble putting his foot to the ground after one of those challenges. And you know, all it needs is a bit of coordinated fouling, and you know, it threatened. You know, he obviously has to worry about his ankles, because we do know that they're a bit vulnerable. And I think no, I can't. No, I can't have that it's Maddison is struggling. I think when the other players don't step up, he's forced to do more than he wants, that he needs to do.
But is that the reason he's struggling then? Because the other two, or whoever's playing around him, are not stepping up, and he's got to try and do more.
I'm sorry, Sarr was shocking yesterday.
He was.
His passing was dreadful, particularly in the first half, and you know. And Basuma, well, we've already dissected Basuma. But if those two aren't functioning in tandem, then it puts a lot more pressure on Maddison, and he's forced to come deep to try and get the ball to get involved. That shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case. The role of the 6 and the role of the 8 is to move the ball forward and get it to Maddison in the final third. It wasn't happening, and by the time the ball got to him, he was surrounded. And if he was a threat, then he was brought down. I'm not having it on Maddison. Maddison is as our Aussie friend is saying there, is key to our team. And
Question for you then, Sean.
He was brilliant last week. Scored a great goal. Orchestrated a lot of the play.
Question for you then, Sean. Do you think then for the Fulham Luton game, these three, it needs to be changed? Keep him in. I think Højbjerg warrants a start with his couple of performances recently. And then this one, do you bring in Lo Celso for him? Do you put Kulu in there? Or do you think he sticks with the 3? And don't forget, we've got Bentancur as well, yeah?
Right, just quickly on that. We've got the international break now. So that will determine maybe possibility some people not being able to start, you know, because of travelling, because of injuries, because of the rest of it. So the international breaks come up probably the worst moment for us, because of this fact now we've got a bit of a dilemma in the team choice. But they might go away. Someone might go away and come back a bit fatigued, a bit injured, you know, not being able to play. So it does give a bit of a problem. Basuma, that midfield can't start again. In my opinion, that midfield 3 shouldn't start again. Unless, of course, I'm jumping all over the place. The Maddison thing, I tend to agree with what Sean's saying. I don't think it's down to him. He's coming back from an injury. He's getting kicked all over the place. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. The biggest thing, though, is where is he most effective for us? He's most effective in the final third. Where is he picking this ball up a lot? And this is due to the tactics I keep saying about. They're basically man marking him. So he's now, because he hasn't got necessarily that defensive cover all the time, he's picking the ball up in our half. He's picking the ball up just outside our box. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be where he's going to create the most danger. Obviously not. So what you want is maybe the two protectors in Sarr and Basuma. And I'm not going to get on Sarr too much because he's 21. You can have 1 out of 10 games not great, or maybe 2 out of 10. But I'm looking at Basuma here. I want you to be consistent 9 times out of 10. I want you to have 1 off game. That's what great midfielders do. And I'll put him in that bracket. I did. He's not. He's a very good player. He's not consistent enough to be a great player. So Madison's having to then pick the ball up here. Let me get mistakes like we've seen yesterday. Players, unforced errors. That puts doubt in your mind. I can't be in this position now. Maybe I've got to be in a bit more of a defensive position so that this team, we can function a bit better. And all those other things then manifest into what we've seen yesterday. So consistency and a bit more aggression in this team would be a massive, massive difference because the football will be up and down.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. These 3 up front. Right. So who shall we start? Right. Johnson can't play on the left. Right. We know this week in, week out. We've said it week in, week out. Sean, we was at the FA Cup game. We've said it. Johnson cannot play on the left. Yet he still plays him on the left. And for me, it summed it up yesterday when he went on through 1-on-1 and he just passed it back to the goalkeeper. He didn't even, you know what, do something. And what does he do? He just passes it back to the keeper. And then he obviously had that second. He cannot play on the left. I don't know. Sean, you might disagree. I know you'll disagree, but Kulu can't play on the right for me. I think he's just, him and Poro does not work. I think Kulu just, I don't know. He doesn't go past anyone, in my opinion. And sometimes he's too slow with his shooting. And even, I don't believe he can beat a player. I think for him now, his best position probably be in the middle as a number 10. I don't know. Son was poor yesterday as well. Our captain, like you said, Sean, our captain, and he had a piss poor game. I don't even know if he done anything, to be fair. I don't think he even had a shot on goal. It's a problem when our best playmaker is kicked out of the game, like you said, Sean, struggling to get into the game. But then you've got the 3 in front of him who are having stinkers as well. What was your take on these 3 yesterday, Sean?
Yeah, it was far from Kulu's finest hour, but I think when the midfield and is not more functioning, it's very difficult for him to pick it up. And when Madison came off, they moved him to a number 10, but then they changed the subs again and moved him back out to the right. And
Why?
I just didn't understand. And it was those, the last substitutions were just very, very strange indeed. Yeah. I think Kulu has statistically has been one of our more effective players this season. And he's had a bad day, but you can't have 10 players having bad days.
Yeah.
And Storm should not be protected from being hooked. He should have gone at half time. I'm sorry, and I love the boy to death, and you could see how painful it was for him to do that post match interview. It really, really hurt him. But and he said he needs to look in the mirror himself because he realised he wasn't good enough. But he needed to be brought off. I would have had Richie on. Richie is better pressing. He's desperate to get back in the team. He's just been on a great run of form and scored a whole load of goals. And I would have sacrificed Johnson on the left and put Son back out there. I don't know. I think there's but we can speculate about the team in 2 weeks' time. But there's two internationals for each of these players in between. We don't know who's going to be available, so I just hope that they get they're not really going to. I mean, they're all off now, so they won't even dissect the game. And it'll be, by the time they come back, they're coming back on the Thursday, and the game's on the Saturday or whatever.
And it could be a good thing for the players because they get to go away and see their mates, and it's the manager. He's the one that's left behind because he's not going to have real training sessions with any of them players. So he's going to be thinking about this game until they come back, and he's going to be probably not doing too much, or if he's coaching, he's coaching the players that are left behind. That's not always ideal. So for the players that have gone away, I think it's all right for them. For the players that are left behind, not so good. Just going back to what you were saying not yesterday, about the team in general terms, like we have to have a look at them subs, because what you're bringing themselves. So, sorry,
I'll bring them up now. Just before you move on, all I want, you can come in on that one, Sam.
Sure. Okay. Go on.
What baffled me, absolutely baffled me, Kulu was having a stinker on the right, and then you've made the subs and you've put him in the middle. Fine, right? But then you've took the man on the right off, and then you've put him back on the right. Why? And I'm sorry, but that has to be down on the manager. If a players are not already playing well on the right, you put him in the middle, sort of started playing quite well. Then you take off the person on the right, and then you put him back on the right. Do you know what? Honestly, I think that was absolutely bonkers. Sorry, Sam.
Again, everybody's allowed an off day, and I would say that was an off day for Ange in terms of what he was doing, because I think he got a little bit, not to say he didn't know what he was doing, but he did things because he was trying to manufacture stuff. That Kulu going back on the right made no sense. The half times, and that's what my point was now. I remember what I was talking about. The half-time thing with regarding Son. Yes, Son could have come off easily, but so could Johnson, so could Kulusevski. Any of those front three could have come off, a number of players could have. What I would have then done and thought to myself is, right, Son's our most effective player. He's the highest goal scorer, probably one of the highest assisters in the team. So if he's not having a good game, you might not want to take him off, but move his position. Get him out of there, as you said. Bring Richarlison on. I would have sacrificed Johnson personally, or possibly Kulusevski, and put Johnson on the other side, and then Son on the left, and Richarlison down the middle. Either or, I think we could have done something without having to make too many changes. The fact that we didn't see any changes, nothing, not even a rotational change, not even I'll change your position, not even, I'll put you a bit further forward, I'll put you closer together, mate. That's all nothing. And if you don't change the personnel when you're playing that way, you're only going to get one result unless you come out of the traps and you prove to the manager this is why we were having a stinker. But they came out and within 10 minutes, the opposition had scored. So it wasn't going to be a good day. Then they're 2-0 up, and then you're 3-0 up and you haven't made a sub. That's on the manager. That's nothing to do with players. That's the manager.
So we all said half-time he should have made the changes, right? Agree. Yes. Maybe so. My question to you both then is 66 minutes when you're, was it 2-0 or 3-0?
We're 3-0 at 61 minutes in the first half.
66 minutes then, right? You go 2-0 down. I think that's when you should have made the substitutions. If you're not going to make them at half time, when you went 2 down with 30 minutes to go, bring on subs, right? Make that.
Sorry, when you're 1-0, remember we weren't playing well in that first half. And we went in.
We were 1-0 down at half time.
Yeah, sorry, at half time. And we weren't playing well in that first half. We all saw that players need to be changed. You come out, you give them that 5 minutes. But if you give them that 5-10 minutes, but the opposition get a goal, you have to make changes straight away. You can't then say, all right, well, I'm going to see how, because they're not playing well. You haven't made any substitutions. You haven't changed any players' positions. How do you think they're going to get better if they're now 2-0 down? So at 1-0, you make that change. And then possibly that second goal doesn't go in as quickly. You can't wait to be 2-0 down. We could have lost that game 5 yesterday. That's not a lie. Easily.
Easy. So the 3 substitutions that you made, right? It took off the midfield 3. Question to you guys then. Was that the right move to take off them 3? Or should it have... I know what my opinion. I think Johnson and Kulu could have gone off with Basuma, right? Or I think Johnson could have gone on the right and then Werner on the left, which makes sense. I would have taken, obviously, Højbjerg and Bentancur as well. Do you think they were the right substitutions? The first substitutions were the right ones, or do you think it should have been different? Sean?
Well, surely the Maddison one was to protect him because he was clearly limping and had been assaulted. So that was more about protecting him for for games to come. So you can understand why that. But we've already said the whole midfield 3 were playing poorly. You could say that was the right decision, but you know, did the substitutions improve us? I would say only marginally. I would say Højbjerg did, and Werner flitted in and out maybe. For Bentancur, I thought it was no, he didn't. You know, again, I still think he's probably he's still coming back from that injury, and I still think, you know, we won't see the proper Bentancur maybe until later this season or early next season. But yeah, I mean, you take off 3 midfielders and you bring on 2 midfielders and a striker, and then you move Kulu, and then when Kulu is suddenly, you know, causing a bit of, you know, because you know, Fulham then have to deal with different players to deal with, and it disturbs them because they've been dealing with one player all afternoon, and then he does these substitutions,
and then 80th minute, Richarlison comes on. You're 3-0 down after 66 minutes. You're not bringing him on as one of your first substitutions. You're 3-0 down. I'm not a rocket scientist, but you're 3-0 down. I've got a striker on the bench. It's all right. I'll bring him on in the 80th minute, and then he took Son off on the 87th minute, which I think is an absolute pointless substitution at 87 minutes.
Yeah.
Richarlison should have been the first one to come on, in my opinion.
So it looks at it like this then, Sid. Was he fully fit? And this goes to the point. If you're on the bench, you don't have to be 100% fit, because I don't think many players are 100% fit, but you need to be fit enough to be able to play at least a half. There's no point in coming on 15, 20 minutes, in my opinion, because as a sub, if you're only coming on for 15 to 20 minutes, it's going to take you that long to get into the swing of the game, particularly for a forward player. You know, you're not a defensive player, rigid and knows what he's got to head the ball out. You've got to be creative in your forward area, so you need more time. That's one of the things. So I didn't understand that. Going back to the original substitution, you don't have to make a load of substitutions. You could have just switched players around. Now, if you're thinking about the way that Fulham were playing yesterday, Robinson was so advanced. Where's the space? The space that he leaves is going to be in that area. So if you've got someone who's got pace, Johnson, put him on that right-hand side. He tracks back. He's more athletic, in my opinion, than Kulusevski, but he's also got burners to go forward. So Robinson's game would have been different. His game would, and that goes back to the point of making them think differently. By not doing anything, they don't think differently. Oh, the same players are on. Oh, they're in the same positions. What do you think is going to happen if you're not playing? Well, we're not at home. We're away from home. You have to take that into consideration. The other thing I just wanted to mention, if you are going to bring players on, you're all human. Who wants to come on in a game at 3-0, even if you've got 25 minutes to play? Are you likely to win away from home when a team that hasn't lost in 11 games, having won and scored the first goal? I'm not going to come thinking, yeah, I'm going to. So Richarlison, he might have had a couple of chances, but even if we'd have scored, we wouldn't have won that game. We wouldn't have won it. These are the things that to me, Andrew's got to now just think a little bit more about, not even so much respect, but at least, right, the opposition here, they know what they're doing. Marco Silva knew what he was doing. Where's the space in the pitch for us? It's in them wide areas. Do something to change how their dynamics are going to be. And that's what Andrew's told me. We're going to play our game to the level that the opposition have got to think differently. They didn't have to think anything differently yesterday, did Fulham.
Do you know what? The other thing I was going to say, right, is I hear you, but I'll give you Bournemouth. Okay, they were at home, 3-0 down. They've come back to win the game 4-3. If you get one back in, I mean, that Werner one or Johnson one goes in, I think, you know what? It could. I'm not saying it would have been, but it could have been game on. Yeah, but these kinds of things make a massive, massive difference. Sean, I'm just going to show you something here, and I want this. This is
well before you say, let me come back on that Bournemouth thing.
Yeah,
we've seen when teams get out of sight. Look at our game away at Brighton before Christmas. We were 4-0 down. We did come back in the game, and that's when positive substitutions were made.
Yeah.
And that's when we had we didn't have players available for us, like Maddison, like You know, it was,
Van der Ven.
so we were. There is a precedent for making positive substitutions and maybe wrestling a game, but I think Fulham were deservedly won the game.
Oh yeah.
As Sam has indicated, they could have won it by more, and we just have to take our take our licks and move on. But there are lessons to be learned. Each team is different. You can't, just because that team did well against Villa changed their whole strategy for us, and you can't expect it to do that week in and week out. Slight changes are always going to be necessary, and as Sam has indicated, and there's a very good point. If Johnson was up against Robertson. Yeah. Robertson doesn't have half the game that he had yesterday.
Cracking.
It doesn't. He wouldn't, would he? Because he knows the threat the other way. He knows the threat. Plus, as well as I think Johnson, he would want to prove himself a little bit more because he'd have to track back. So even if you'd make him do that, and he's 22, he's just come. He would do that. Kulishevsky, not to say he doesn't, because he works hard. He really does work hard. But his athleticism to then do the tracking back to then get forward is the problem. Because if you're doing all that tracking back, he hasn't got the athleticism to then get forward. I believe Johnson has. Even Timo Werner, to a degree, could make him think a little bit more about that. So even he could have come on. And because of that's what you've got to utilise their pace. Robinson had a masterclass of a game yesterday, but we made him look like bloody Dani Alves. We made him look like Dani Alves yesterday.
No, don't think him to Dani Alves. Right, so we've got to go in a minute, guys. So we'll quickly wrap this up now. Right. Goals conceded then. 14th position, Tottenham, 42 goals conceded. Yeah. Then you've got Aston Villa on 15, 41 goals conceded. Everton have conceded 39 goals. They've conceded 3 less than us. Man United have conceded 3 less than us. Manchester City, 28 goals conceded. Liverpool, 26. And Arsenal, 24 goals conceded.
How can we have conceded more goals than Man United?
I know.
How?
And Everton.
How? But Man United, how? They've got Harry Maguire. How?
Well, they've not had him for quite a while, but this.
But equally, hold on a second. Let's have it straight. We've also we've scored a lot more goals than those other teams.
Yeah.
Let's not get carried away here. We've got 5 more goals than at the same stage as last season. We've got 5 more points. We've got 7 more goals on the same stage last season. So it's not a good look. 42 goals against. I mean, we conceded 60 now last year. Let's have it straight. And our defence has been good, and the goals against had been coming down. But yesterday was a bad day, and it went through the team like a rash. So not a good stat. But then, as I said, nerds are killing the enjoyment of football for me.
Yeah, but look, these 24, Liverpool 26, and Man City 28. Yeah, so the top 3 considerably less goals conceded. The 2 fighting it out for 4 and 5, 42, 41 goals. You need to stop them goals going in. You need to keep more clean sheets if you want to have a good chance. Right. So, the league table then, as it stands, as of today, 64, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City, 63. And then Aston Villa and Spurs both played 28 games. Both scored 59 goals. Villa have conceded 41. Spurs have conceded 42. And they are 2 points ahead of us.
Look at that! I mean, look at the difference. It's 3 goals.
Yeah.
Let's not get carried away. We should at least stay in 5th, and get ourselves in the Europa League.
So West Ham play Villa today. So if Villa win that game, they will back to 5 points ahead of us with a game in hand. So that's the league table as it stands. Sam, I know you wanted to go, but I wanted to talk about the things that Post said yesterday in the press conference. But if you've got to go, you've got to go.
I can stay for that.
Yeah, I didn't see that, so I'll go. But no, thanks for that, guys. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, thank you, Sam.
Off my chest. I feel better.
We shall catch up during the week at some point, mate. Have a good day.
Later.
Take it easy. See you later. Right. Juice Nuts is saying here, for all the stats that are important, the most important is goals conceded. That is a relatively good indicator of teams' overall play. In combination with goals for blow away any other stats. Goals for blow away any other stats. So, yeah, I mean,
if we consider, if say we conceded 42, right?
Who?
If we scored, we've conceded 42.
Yeah.
If we scored the same number of goals as Arsenal, would be really worried about it.
You know what? I would say, Sean, because at the end of the day, clean sheets wins.
A plus 28 goal difference.
Yeah, but Sean, it'd still be a worry for me conceding goals with the defense that we've got. Yeah, technically, the players that we've got in that defense, we should be keeping more clean sheets. We should be. But you can score 100 goals, but if you're still conceding a lot of goals, Sean, you've got to weigh it up and say, do you know what? Yeah.
If you're scoring more, if you're outscoring your opponents, you're picking up the points.
If you're outscoring them when you're picking up the points, yes, but it still should be a worry that you're not keeping clean sheets. I think I'd still be worried, and I'm sure the defenders would be worried as well. That, you know what, we need to shut this shit up, man. We're conceding too many. We can right. So
look at Man United, 39 for 39 against.
I know, and that's a Man United team, right? Right. So in the press conference yesterday, he said a couple of things, right? So I want to pick your brains on this one. The first thing he said, Sean, was...
You need to read the full quote.
Yeah. I haven't got the full quote somewhere, but one of them was, fourth ain't my goal. Yeah, he said fourth is not my goal. It's something about a prize, isn't it? It's not a prize. Fourth isn't my goal, right? Now, a lot of people, I mean, when I was on social media, a lot of people have said, well, then what is your goal? And people were putting that question, saying, well, what is your goal then? At this precise moment, you're not going to win the league, right? So fourth isn't your goal, then what is your goal? So what did you think he meant by that then?
He says the only goal is to win, is to be first. And that's how he has been throughout his career. He's looking to the top. Fourth doesn't mean jack shit to him. And let's be honest. And I don't see why people are getting their knickers in a twist about him. Well, because how many of these, particularly the Levy out fans, the ones whose whole existence is around, being represented by UKIP colours, is about getting the change of ownership. Yes, it would be good to have different owners who aren't so preoccupied with pounds, shillings, and pence. But what we're finding out is those that aren't preoccupied with pounds, shillings, and pence are losing points without actually even kicking a ball now. So let's have it straight. What do you want? Do you want a financial jeopardy and losing points off the field in a courtroom? Or do you want them lost on the field? I'd rather have them lost on the field, thank you very much. But yeah, he wants to win. It's prizes that count. It's like, Arsenal. Let's have it straight. You're competing, but you better win. You better win this season, my boys, because all the shellacking we're getting in the comments here from our friends in 5, they haven't achieved anything yet.
Of course not.
We've won exactly the same trophies, and God forbid if they bow out to Tottenham old boys, then we're gonna, we will have our day in the sun. Don't you worry about it.
See, the other thing as well is, the prize is not fourth, it's to win the title. You're not going to win the title with what he's got at this precise moment.
But he's always talked about being here for a number of years.
Of course.
People want, honestly, it's the worst thing about the internet generation. It's, I want jam today, you know, and
Caviar tomorrow.
Caviar tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. You can't, you know, you saw we were a shell of a club at the end of last season. To be where we are is a majority of it is on the manager. He had the players let him down, but he didn't help himself with his substitutions yesterday. That's it. It's a bad day at the office. Our friends are gonna you know, have a field day because they're having a week off. They're having 3 weeks off. So we'll see. You know,
and then
they should really be focusing on their games coming up. They've got Man City and others to face. So it's not a done deal for them. And if they finish third, good luck. Yeah, well done to them. But it means they win as much as us.
And the other thing he said about was that correct me if I'm wrong, something along the lines of, if we finish 5th, I'll be happy with that as long as we are going the way I want to go. And
yeah, and what he means by that is performances like last week, not performances like this week.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, it's not rocket science. The man is straightforward. He doesn't bullshit us. You know, he said, you know, I mean, it's honestly the fact that we live rent free in some people's heads is unbelievable. And sometimes the most deluded people are not fans of other teams.
It's our own fans.
But it's our own fans.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the reaction on Twitter today.
Somebody said yesterday, we're not. If you need to be winning, you know, if 4th is not your goal, you're not going to win the title, right? Because he goes, there's better teams than us, so we're not going to win the title. So then why are we all saying we need to get 4th and 5th to get into the Champions League? Because we're not going to win the Champions League, right? If we can't win the Prem, we're not going to win the Champions League. If we're not good enough to win the Prem, we're not good enough to Champions League. So why are we then going into the Champions League making a big song and dance about it when we're not going to win it? Yeah, we're going to go in there just to make the numbers up, right? And I thought, you're right in a way, because if you're not competing to win the league, then there's no way you're going to be able to go in the Champions League against the best of the best and try and win that one. You're never going to win that one. So for me, yes, it's pointless. It just fills his pockets with the prices that are going up. So Daniel Levy, it's a win-win situation. The further we go in there for him, he's not bothered about winning it, I don't think. He just wants the money. So
I mean, they should be happy. They should be happy because he's actually going against, you know, he's actually kicking back against Levy. You must get in top 4. You know, he wants the team to play well because he knows if the team plays well, you're competitive, you can win trophies. I want us to win trophies. Do you know what?
Yeah.
I'm more upset about the cup exits than I am about
the league.
About even yesterday. Yesterday was a bad day, and you know, there's no sugarcoating it. But you know, I'm going in at a hospital on Tuesday. Got to have a little procedure done. As long as I come out of the anaesthetic the other side, I hope that that's not my last game as a Spurs fan. So you know, get real, folks. And he's saying when he's getting to he's trying to get away from that Wenger syndrome. 4th place is worth a trophy, you know. Yeah. And can the Arsenal fans remember how they felt when Wenger was saying that? Can they remember that in spite of everything, Arteta had 2 8th place teams and he had Nuno Tavares and Pepe playing for them?
There's a message for you from Juicy here. Make sure the doctor's not a gooner. Good Beats he's got a point here, right? The manager is looking at the bigger picture. He knows that we are ahead of schedule of the process. He knows where he expects the team to click, and that's not after 9 months. And he said
Thank you, Good Beats. Thank you.
He said it yesterday as well, didn't he? He said, I'll take 5th as long as I know we're progressing. And then in the summer, if I can get the players that I want, that will make this team better.
Of course, another thing he said in the week, or was it in the week? I think it was in the week. I'd rather take two £50 million players
and 100 million.
one player. And that's right, because if you have to build a squad, one player isn't going to change Tottenham from competing for fourth to competing for the title.
Yeah, I think,
you know
what? I think overall, if we sum it up, I think it's the manner of the defeat yesterday, especially after the way the second half performance, even maybe a little bit in the first half against Aston Villa, one of your oppositions that are fighting for the 4th, 5th place, whatever. You brushed them aside so easily. All right, they were down to 10 men, but you still got to put them to bed. And then to go to Craven Cottage and put in that performance, and like you said, Sean, probably 10 of them players didn't put in a performance at all. You can expect 1 or 2 to make a poor performance, but at least 9, 10 players not to perform. Probably Spurs fans were like, what the hell's just happened here? I think they were all like shocked and they weren't expecting that. So it happens. You know, you can't win them all. You can't win them all.
You could tell from Andrew's demeanour in his post-match interview for Spurs, he was devastated by what had happened yesterday. Yeah. But he's a diplomat, and you know he knows the place to castigate the players, and it's not in front of the fans. It's not in front of the the cameras. He knows I'm going to do this in the privacy of the training centre when they come back. Anyway.
Yeah, and you know what? It was what it was. But at the end of the day, you've got to give Fulham credit, because the way Fulham played at home, yes, we were poor, but I think they were awesome. I think they fully deserved their win. And if I'm a Fulham fan, I'm probably thinking, you know what, it should have been more. So fair play to Fulham. Well done to them for getting the 3 points. It was a bad day at the office for Spurs. And we'll wrap it up on that one. And final quote of the evening, and I think it's a good one. It's St. Patrick's Day. Good time to have a drink and enjoy and move on.
Yeah, as a to all the Irish fans of Tottenham Hotspur, and to those of us in the diaspora, thank you, Dad. God bless you. Yeah, a very happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. Enjoy yourselves today. Yesterday happened. You can't change the past. Let's just focus on today and the future. And hopefully I'll be back here next week, NHS permitting, and we'll carry on. We'll carry on.
Absolutely. And for all the boy bands fans on here that might have heard of a certain group called Five, all I'm going to say is move on up when you're down. Take a good look around. I know it's not right, but it's okay. We're gonna keep on moving on. So, on that note, thank you to everyone for watching us. Thank you for tuning into PRTV Spurs Paxton Road TV. If you haven't already tuned in or subscribed to our channel, follow us, give us a smash. Look out for talking points, as we haven't got a game for next week, so at some point we'll be doing a talking point. Sam will obviously keep you all notified. Have a great St. Patrick's Day. If you're on Ramadan, hope you're having a great Ramadan and the fasts are going well. As always, we always say, come on, you Spurs, because we are Tottenham Hotspur through and through. Until the next time, guys, Luton Town at home at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Have a great Sunday. Have a great week, and we will see you soon.
Develop,